beat. I took the bus down to the job centre in West Norwood. There I reviewed the career opportunities listed on cards tacked to a notice board. They ranged from bricklayer to office boy with little in between. Then I sat down for an interview with a woman barely older than me. I told her that I hoped to be a journalist. She sighed loudly at that and informed me that such a job required A-levels and quite likely a dedicated university degree. I should have told her I also planned to be a rock star just to see what qualifications that might require. I was told to file for supplementary benefit, the category for those of us who weren't strictly unemployed, given that we had never been employed in the first place. The routine was nonetheless the same. Every other week, I would take the bus into Brixton. There, off the back of the Railton Road, at my assigned DHSS office, I would join all walks of life, except for the rich, of course, queuing up to sign on. And approximately 2 days later, I would get a cheque, my gyro, in the mail. Mine was for just over £30 a fortnight. I made do. Without the distraction of school as an excuse, I buckled down to work on Jamming. That's my magazine fanzine for anybody who doesn't know. The latest issue had offered value for money, and it boasted that unique Robin Richards illustration for its cover. But it had proven a hard sell all the same. I decided the next one should be thinner, with a lower cover price, and it should come out quicker and hopefully be more contemporary as a result. I secured an interview with the Dead Kennedys, whose first single had served revelatory notice that there was, gasp, a punk rock scene in America somewhere other than New York. That single, California Uber Alles, with its attacks on a Governor Jerry Brown, was obviously a protest song, and presumably on the right side of that protest, i.e. the left. But there was no need to study its lyrics in intense detail. There was quite enough intensity in the music and the high-pitched wail of lead singer Jello Biafra. It might have been possible to dismiss the Dead Kennedys as just a belated American impersonation of the Sex Pistols, a short-lived shock horror based on a deliberately provocative name, if the band hadn't signed to Cherry Red and delivered an equally vitriolic and voluminous follow-up. The sleeve to that single, Holiday in Cambodia, showed someone at the front of a mob, presumably Cambodian given the song title, hitting someone else, also presumably Cambodian, with a chair. A rather pointless act that the second presumed Cambodian was already hanging by his neck and appeared to all intents and purposes rather dead. I knew vaguely that something horrible had been going on in Cambodia, and that it may or may not have been connected to the Vietnam War. But that had been America's war, not ours, and surely it ended long ago, which rendered the subject all the more confusing. By the time I sat down with Jello Biafra, I had seen the Dead Kennedys make their British debut at the Music Machine and received a free copy of their LP, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables, courtesy of Cherry Red. Both were something of a letdown. The two singles, recently joined by the frenetic Kill the Poor, turned out to be the exception, not the rule. The rule was something so fast, so hectic and so loud that it made the Ramones sound like the Bay City Rollers. In its speed, politics and volume, this music had something in common with Crass, a band whose politics I admired just as much as I detested their music. But the geographical distance and the manner in which it was ultimately delivered ensured that it also had nothing in common with Crass. Apparently they had a name for it in the States, hardcore, and Biafra was quick to cite the examples of Flipper, the Germs, DOA and the Screamers as examples of a thriving California scene. Whether or not there was a market for hardcore was a different matter. The Dead Kennedys had yet to secure a release for their LP in the States, and for concentrating on the UK in lieu of their homeland, I accused them of bringing coals to Newcastle, an expression I had to explain, given that it was as British as I believe punk rock to be. Biafra, did his friends call him Joe? Caught on quickly, and over the course of an hour or more, with occasional interjections from guitarist East Bay Ray, he educated me in not only the politics of the United States, but also its economy, its military, its social structure, and its class system, expressing a particular vitriol for the people he called jocks. Apparently the vast majority of Americans were jocks. which might have explained why the dead Kennedys were so happy to be playing in the UK instead. Like any self-respecting British teenage lefty who had never been there, I held nothing but contempt for the USA, schooled largely by Paul Weller, who hated playing there with a vengeance and scorned the Clash for their hypocrisy in touring it relentlessly. And although my interview with Biafra proved that there were intellectuals to be found in the oddest places, his insistence that his band was in the minority, quote, Americans are trained from day one to be stupid, only served to confirm my general prejudice. And here we are, and I've lived in the States for almost 40 years. To be continued.